Well, a community-driven restoration project is turning pollution into progress along the Trout River in Jacksonville. Joining me to discuss the effort are John Henry November of the Public Trust. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
And Marshiray Wellington of the Riverview Collective. Good morning, Marshiray.
Good morning.
If you will, start us off, Marshiray. First of all, what is the Riverview Collective and what is its role in this project that we're talking about, Oysterfest?
Yes, so Riverview Collective Community Organization, we are a newly formed organization on the north side of Jacksonville. We represent the Riverview neighborhood, and a part of the Riverview neighborhood, we actually focus on District 8, which is the Trout River side. So we are taking a holistic approach to our work in the community, and this direction that we're headed first, our priority is the water, because our many of our homes are along the Trout River, and what we're seeing a lot of flooding, a lot of erosion that's happening. We're losing property because of the storms. And so this work is important to us because it will hopefully help us to save the efforts, just really protect us from erosion, but then also help to improve the water quality in the area. And improving the water quality, not only we're talking about healthy, for the community, but also health for the other species that are in the water also.
And so, how big of a defining kind of natural characteristic is the Trout River in that neighborhood?
Oh, wow. So that's kind of hard to, I don't have that information specifically, but along that river view, I mean, from one end of the community to the other, we are the Trout River flows. The backyards of the Riverview on District 8, those backyards back up to the Trout River.
Yeah.
So we have some beautiful waterfront homes back there. It's a real gem that many don't know about because you really have to go into the community to really see and get to the water. And that's the same thing with the park. You've got to go down into the park to really see the river. But it's amazing. It's beautiful. And that's why we've got to really come together to make sure that we preserve the integrity of the neighborhood and of the water as well.
And John Henry, so what exactly is being done here at this park?
Well, on Saturday, we're going to have Oysterfest, which is a great celebration of this project, but we are doing a restoration project of the oysters, and it allows for shoreline stabilization and cleaning water quality. And yes, this is a pilot project. It's a establishment of a great project that can be implemented in other communities across and tributaries across Northeast Florida. But this is an excellent outreach and education project as well, where Marshiray and her team of two local students, both college-age students, are going to go into the local schools and educate and provide outreach so the next generation can also complete the stewardship of our natural resources.
And so, specifically, though, the reef placement that is going to be, put out there. Can you describe a little bit what these are physically that we're talking about and how they work to, ultimately attract oysters and kind of clean the river? Can you just sort of describe what it looks like and then how the process works?
Yeah, so these are called oyster modules. So they actually are made out of concrete and oysters, and then live oysters come and live on top of these oysters. So it creates sort of an oyster community there in Riverview. And so it's a exciting opportunity for right there at a really popular park in that community for people to be able to be educated on this topic so they can see what are indeed the benefits of these oysters for the Riverview community.
And so people who are watching our live stream can see some pictures of these modules as you describe them, but they're basically kind of clusters, balls of a sort that are like concrete and oyster shell.
Mhm.
And so how do they help stabilize the shoreline and how do they attract oysters?
Well, so I can speak to that.
All right.
And so another piece that we're doing to kind of get in the work in the get ahead of installing those modules, we're actually installing vertical oyster gardens, right? And so the purpose of those gardens are to attract those oyster spats because that's how oysters are developed.
What is a vertical oyster garden?
A vertical oyster garden is actually just a thin wire, and you have recycled oyster shells that are strung along that, and we attach those to piers or docks in the neighborhood. And what that does is that attracts those the spawns basically that are looking for shells to develop into adult oysters. It attracts them over to the area.
Mm.
So we're, like I said, getting in front of the modules and working on attracting those spawns to the area. So as we install those modules, we'll have those oysters ready to attach and help to establish that oyster reef.
So that's how you kind of lure them with the modules and with these, kind of initial creation of it. But from a stabilization standpoint, what are they doing to help the shoreline?
So, because you've got these concrete, well, it's concrete mixed with the oyster shell. So they work along with kind of helping you to establish that oyster reef. And so you've got this concrete structure that as those storms come and those waves are coming, it's protecting that coastline
Mm.
from, the erosion. So you've got that barrier that's in place that's going to hopefully hold that sand or whatever, or the natural grasses even, it's protecting those things. And those are all things that help the coastline, just help prevent erosion along the coastline of Trout River.
So this is a initiative, John, that is a kind of a new undertaking in terms of how it's being financed and how this grant process is being distributed. Can you talk about what it is, where the money's coming from, how it's being allocated in particular?
Absolutely. So this money is coming from the Northeast Florida Environmental Conservation Fund at the Community Foundation. And this is the only dedicated fund to benefit environmental projects at the Community Foundation currently. This fund source comes from when we bring Clean Water Act lawsuits to bring industrial facilities into compliance with their permits. So unfortunately, many facilities are sending pollutants into the water that can be carcinogenic, like heavy metals. And we go to these facilities and actually provide them the technical expertise to come into compliance, and at the same time come into a collaborative settlement process where a part of that process is paying into environmental benefit payment to the Community Foundation to fund these types of projects. And so Marshiray and the Riverview Collective Charitable Organization is our first major grant from this fund. And so the fund is available so other individuals in this city can make donations, but we've been able to raise over $100,000 so far, and we're likely on track to raise another $100,000 this year. And so it's fun to be usually as a water quality organization, advocacy organization, we're the ones asking for money, but to be able to be the grantors and working with scientists and engineers and philanthropists to create a dedicated source to help groups like the Riverview Collective Charitable Organization, it's an incredible step in the right direction for Jackson. We're very proud of.
And so that fund, as you say, is kind of financed by fines or payments that are made when somebody is, violating water quality standards.
Mm-hmm.
I would think of that money as typically going to like a regulatory agency. How does it end up in this fund?
Oh, that's such a great question. Typically, they would go to like the Department of Justice, and it would go off into some nebulous, place somewhere in D.C. or something. But instead, these entities get to know that instead of doing that, they get to pay into a local fund that's going to have a local impact. And so the Community Foundation is such a trusted organization to do the right thing with the funds. So we trust them to use these funds in the best way possible right here in this community. So for example, the industrial facility that we worked with for this settlement was located right there close to the Riverview community. So to be able to give right back into that community and help that tributary was very meaningful. And so it's good that it's so hyper local. That's our intent.
And Marshiray, you're wearing a Oyster Queen shirt, so obviously very invested in this process and this project. How was it that the community decided that this would be the kind of the choice, the project that was going to be the one that they wanted to use this money that was coming back to the fund, and select specifically this kind of restoration project?
What I tell many, the oyster shows me I didn't choose the oysters, right? And so that's what's just happened even with the organization and this work. We started with just wanting to do more work in the community, right? We knew we wanted to establish an organization. We had a community meeting, and at our meeting, Jimmy Orth with St. John Riverkeeper, he was there. And so he actually was able to share with the community the work that St. John Riverkeeper as well as Liz had already been doing in the park. They had started some cleanup some time back. They also just helped with establishing a new playground area. So, we decided at that point, you know what, there's already work that's happening in the community. So let's go ahead and instead of trying to do something totally different, let's just partner with those that are already invested in the neighborhood. And that then led to the work that we're doing now.
Yeah, and so is it a kind of a grant application process, or how does that happen? The money and how it's allocated.
So, well, I mean, all of this again, when I say we were chosen, it's almost like we were seriously chosen because, once they saw that the community was really looking to just work alongside with some of the things they were already working on, our name started to just come up, I think, in different conversations. And so I think they just saw, the passion and what we were really wanting to do, and they basically came to us and said, hey, guys, we'd like to help you all get established as an organization and, and also help you with the work that, just learn about this work that's going to help in the work we're doing together, and, and that's just kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
And, we also, with the organization, we're not just wanting to, come in and put a lipstick on a pig, we're really wanting to educate the community so that the work that we do is something that's going to last a lifetime, hopefully.
And entities can put a letter of interest into the Community Foundation for the Northeast Florida Conservation Fund if they're interested in getting funding in the future. And the key that we're looking for are ways to amplify the impact of the funds that we give. So typically we would want to be closing a gap or trying to amplify funds that have already been secured by an organization to truly make a large impact in the city.
And just the fact that this is, as you said, returning funds to a community that was impacted by water quality violations, that's just sort of a happy accident. I mean, that's sort of nice that it worked out that way, but not necessarily how they'll be targeted in the future.
The Public Trust and the St. Johns River Keeper specifically dedicate our water quality watchdog monitoring efforts to areas that typically don't have a voice of their own, kind of environmental justice oriented. And so it's no mistake that these facilities that we're focusing on mostly are located in traditionally underserved communities. So to be able to give back right there in that community is very meaningful.
And so, Marshiray, this Oyster Fest that we're talking about is April 12th, and it's from, I think, 11 to 4-ish.
Correct.
What are people going to see? What can people expect if they go? Are they going to be participating in putting these modules out? Are they going to see it happen?
Okay, well, so April 12th is going to be a very busy day for the community. We're actually starting with yoga at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
We're going to do yoga in the park. Then we're going to have our community meeting at 10. And then we'll go into Oysterfest from 11 to 4.
Okay.
So when they come out, so we're going to have vendors that are going to be talking about the work that we're doing. You've got Jacksonville Zoo. They're going to come out, talk about their living shoreline that they've already started there and just, again, educate the community around what that's about. And then we'll have St. John's River Keeper. We'll have the students that are part of the work that we're doing that's going to actually demonstrate and show, exactly what we're doing and how the community can be a part of the work that we're doing. We're also going to have great activities for the students or for children in the community to really help them better understand, how the oysters are filtering the water, how that whole system works. And then we're also going to, of course, have information around just wealth building, other things, heirs property. We're going to do a lot of just information that's going to benefit the
And
community
fun.
overall.
Music,
and fun.
food,
Live music, oysters, raw, and Rockefeller.
Great. Well, John November, Marshiray, Washington, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
It's been
Thank
our
you.
pleasure.
All right. We'll be